Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for another edition of Slab and Gab here on the channel, where we take a look at a handful, in this case, of graded cards from my collection and chat about them a little bit. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but wanted to get a little bit more into some of the pre-war cards that I have picked up over time. I've been at it as an adult collector for about 15 years now, and I've kind of dabbled in and out of just about everything. At times I've liked modern, at times I've liked vintage, pre-war, autographs, parallels, graded cards, raw cards, you name it. And so haven't been picking up a ton of pre-war in recent years, really since the pandemic, just because prices are pretty crazy. Maybe they're getting a little bit better, I'm not sure. But I do have quite a bit from when I was kind of on a pre-war kick, maybe 10 years or so ago. And showed recently this Bill Carrigan T206 card front and center that I picked up in a video maybe a few weeks back. And got a comment from my friend Scott over at Reindeer Studios. Had picked up on the fact that I mentioned in the video that I was working on a Red Sox team set and needed that Carrigan. So I figured I would pull three others here today from my slow build of a T206 Boston Red Sox team set. The first here is Frankarianes, and I may have mispronounced that. I'm not sure how that double L gets pronounced in his name, but beautiful looking card here. I mean, the artwork on these is just amazing. I love the turn of the century uniforms and caps. Just a gorgeous card, as really every T206 is. Picked this one up in a PSA 2. Just so happens to be the same grade as both of the ones in the background. Most of mine are 2s. It's not because I obsessively seek out 2s. It's just because I look for visually appealing cards that for some reason have a low grade. To be honest with you, this card looks really nice. Looks quite a bit better than either of the cards in the background there. The back is clean. The reason this got a 2, it's not entirely clean. There's a tiny bit of paper loss there, or it's more like worn off over time than ripped. But I mean, that does not really impact the look of the back at all. Got this for a song, many years ago. When I was working on this project initially, you could pick these up, in a grade like this for like 25 bucks or something like that. Certainly not the case recently, but I do hope to knock this one out someday. He was really short-lived in the major leagues, Frankarianes. Don't think there's really a whole lot to write home about as far as his career. I think he only played for maybe like 3 seasons before he moved on. But again, just a cool card, and there's not any T206 that I'll turn down. Really, honestly, Red Sox teams that are otherwise, quite honestly, I just think they're all beautiful. If I won the lottery, I'd probably try to collect as many as I could. Here's the second subject of today's video, Harry Lord. And another thing I love about these have like the frosted inset for the smaller T206 cards inside the slabs, whereas sometimes I've heard others complain about this as well, and I agree, they use these annoying like baggies. So you can see the difference when the light hits these. You can see all the wrinkles in the baggie on this Carrigan card on the right, but this Harry Lord looks nice and clean and crisp. So I don't know why PSA at times uses the bag or has moved back to the bag. These cards with the frost are actually older. You can tell because they don't have the hologram here, the lighthouse hologram on the flip. So at some point, PSA went from these really nice looking frosted holders to these annoying bags. But that aside, Harry Lord, probably the most successful in the majors of the 3 players that we're going to look at today. He did last a few seasons. I don't think he was ever like an all-star caliber player, but he racked up like 1,000 hits or something like that at the major league level. And again, just what I shoot for with all these cards. Low grade, but looks beautiful. And the reason this one scored the way it did, you can see there's a little bit of like a surface wrinkle kind of right where the light's hitting here. And I'm doing a terrible job getting this on camera, but there's a tiny little crease / wrinkle there that runs through his left arm towards the border of the card through the dark blue. But I mean, when you hold this at arm's length, I don't really think that detracts too much from the beauty of this card. And again, my aim with these was not to break the bank and to pick up nice looking examples for cheap. I didn't bother to do the research before hitting record today on exactly what I paid for all three of these, but I guarantee you none of them were over like $40. So for that price, for cards this old, you just can't go wrong. And here's the third and final member of today's trio, Harry Niles. And I love that all three of the cards featured today, and the Carrigan for that matter, all prominently have the word Boston in bold red right across the fronts of the jerseys. I just love it. That's not the case with all the uniforms from this era. So you do have T206 cards where just looking at the picture, it's kind of hard to make out what team the player actually played for, but there is no doubt with any of these three that these were Boston athletes. So love that. Niles, career-wise, was probably closer to Frankarianes last just a couple of years. I think maybe 4 or 5 years. So maybe somewhere in between the first two guys that we looked at today. This is, again, a Piedmont back. Most of mine are. I think that was the most common back type for T206 cards. I'm not an expert by any means. This is not a channel that you should come to for, advice or expertise on collecting the T206 set or searching out rare examples or anything like that. I'm just a collector that enjoys really old cards and was fortunate enough to be into these at a time period where they weren't all that expensive slabs. So there's 3 more Red Sox to join the Bill Carrigan that we looked at recently. Brings me up to a total of 4 Red Sox cards now shown on the channel from this T206 set, but I do have others. I'm going to cut it off there today, though, and keep this one short and sweet. I try to do that with these Slab and Gab installments, but if there's interest, I will definitely queue up more of these and other pre-war cards to show here on the channel. So I appreciate you spending a few minutes of your time stopping by today. Thank you to all of you who take the time to leave comments and interact. I do respond to every single comment that is left on my channel. So if you do enjoy the video, go ahead and reach out, and I'd love to hear from you. I've met a ton of cool people on this platform via these videos, and I really appreciate everyone's support. So that's a wrap for today. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. Till then, take care.